Well, hello there. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Jeff. I'm so glad you could be with me this Sunday morning. I just wanted to mention that before we get started that in the comments from last week's show, a lot of people shared their first experience with Mystery Science Theater 3000, and I enjoyed reading those a lot because my first experience, I'll share that with you now, was one morning. I think it was during their second season on Mystery Science Theater. They might have still been on the Comedy Channel before it moved to Comedy Central. Anyway, I was just sitting there one morning flipping through channels and I came across it and I'm like, are they talking during the movie? And it took a while for it to sink in that they were making jokes, and I was like, well, the middle one looks like a guy, but what are those other two things? The whole thing it blew my mind. I'd never seen anything like it. I remember distinctly my wife getting up out of bed, and I was like, honey, you got to check this out. Check this out. They're making jokes during the movie. And I was hooked. I've been watching it ever since and still watch it today. Anyway, today we're going to talk about a film that was first shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000 on February 10th, 1990. It was a 1966 film called Women of the Prehistoric Planet, starring Wendell Corey, Keith Larsen, John Agar, Irene Tsu, Robert Ito, and many others. Now, this is the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode in which a death satellite invades the satellite of love, and it turns Joel, Tom, and Crow into Isaac Asimovs. Go figure. It's the battle of the sexes as savage planet women attack female space invaders. See gigantic tarantulas eat men alive. See men swallowed in treacherous planet pools of acid. See humans preserved in huge ice tombs. See prehistoric nymphs bathe in pools of paradise. Okay, there's a few things wrong with this poster. Now, for those new to the show, while I'm going to talk about a film that was first shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000, I'm going to more talk about the film itself and not a lot about Joel and the Bots, but we will get to them at the end of the show. Now, there are some exaggerations in the film poster, if not outright lies, and it begins with the film's title, Women of the Prehistoric Planet. Is the planet prehistoric? Well, we do see a pet store iguana posing as a dinosaur in the film, so maybe. And then at the end of the film, we find out that, that would be a spoiler. But it's the women part that I have a problem with. As far as I can tell, the only women on the planet come from spaceships. 2 from the crashed spaceship and 1 from the rescue spaceship. So I think that title just isn't right. Even the lobby card shows women that I don't remember from the film. So what's the deal? Okay, I believe it went down like this. It all started with a man named Jack Bruder. I couldn't find any pictures of Jack, but he lived from 1904 to 1979. He had been a producer in the 1950s on a few low-budget films, such as Bride of the Gorilla from 1951. In the mid-60s, he came into a little money and he decided to produce 2 films back-to-back, using a lot of the same crews and sets. Those films would be this one and another one called The Navy vs. the Night Monster. Writer-director Arthur C. Pierce was hired to do the first film, and he called it The Prehistoric Planet. But when it was finished, producer Jack thought it needed a little more, sexiness. So he had some extra scenes of young attractive ladies in skimpy outfits frolicking around, swimming and such, inserted into the film, and then he changed the title. But the added scenes were only available in the European cut, not in the US version. Yet the title was kept as Women of the Prehistoric Planet even in the US, even though that title made no sense whatsoever. Even the poster showed an image that wasn't in the final film. A clear case of false advertising as far as I'm concerned. Oddly, Jack Broder's next film, The Navy vs. the Night Monster, after that was completed by another director, he had Arthur C. Pierce go in and film some additional scenes to increase the length of the film. Now, I've never seen the European cut of The Women of the Prehistoric Planet, so I can't verify any of this. But I do know that this topless woman from this lobby card wasn't in the version that I watched, and I would have noticed. Now, the makers of this film were allowed to use props found at the old RKO studio, And apparently, the spider in the film was created for the 1933 King Kong for the legendary cut spider pit sequence. Now, a lot of the information I got wasn't from reliable sources. It was from stories I found on the internet that I couldn't confirm, so like the IMDb trivia, so take it with a grain of salt. Now, one of the only first-hand accounts I found was from actor Irene Tsu. She said the film was filmed in 11 or 12 days and that much of the sets were made out of paper mache, and they were constantly being told to be careful where you step and don't lean on this and that sort of thing, afraid they might break the props. Like I said, the film was written and directed by Arthur C. Pierce. Art, and I think I can call him Art, lived from 1923 to 1987. He started out making industrial films as a cameraman and became a screenwriter, writing such films as The Cosmic Man and Terror in the Midnight Sun, also known as Invasion of the Animal People, both from 1959. From there he moved on to directing, creating such films as Beyond the Time Barrier in 1960, The Human Duplicators in 1965, and Las Vegas Hillbillies in 1966. In the 1970s, Pierce wrote a couple episodes of the TV series Fantasy Island. Now the star of the film is Wendell Corey. Wendell lived from 1914 to 1968 and was a fairly successful actor in the 1940s and early 50s. He was also president of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science from 1961 to 1963 and a board member of the Screen Actors Guild. But the thing about Wendell, allegedly, is he liked to drink. I read that booze was the reason why he mumbled almost incoherently throughout much of this film.
She's probably near the ship.
Yes, sir.
Bring laser rifles with you. And guard at all times.
Yes, sir. Don't worry, Admiral.
All that I was unable to confirm, but he did die 2 years later at the age of 54, again allegedly due to cirrhosis of the liver as a result of alcoholism. Now, members of the Corey family, if all this is wrong, don't blame me, blame the internet, alright? Anyway, Mary Anders, who played Lieutenant Karen Lamont, said of Wendell, "I enjoyed working with Wendell Corey because I'd been a fan for a long time. He has a very sarcastic wit, and he'd say little things under his breath that would crack everyone up. He was concerned about the fact that his costume was so tight that if he bent over, he would rip his pants." John Agar plays Dr. Farrell. John lived from 1921 to 2002. He had a long acting career and for 5 years was married to Shirley Temple. It was their marriage in 1945 that led to his acting career. He was able to get a 5-year contract with David O. Selznick in RKO. After his marriage ended in 1950, his career took a turn into B-films, many that will probably make it onto this channel, such as Tarantula from 1955, The Mole People from 1956, and two from 1957, The Daughter of Dr. Jekyll and The Brain from Planet Eros. By the time he did this film, he was doing more TV work than doing films. Now, I like some of the films Agar was in. I think he does a pretty good job, but in this film, well, he looks totally disinterested and bored, like he doesn't want to be there. Probably that's the case. Stuart Margolin plays Chief. Stuart lived from 1940 to 2022. This was his first film after doing a lot of TV work. Although he had a long career as both an actor and director, he is best known for playing Angel on the 1970s television series The Rockford Files, in which he won 2 Emmy Awards. Irene Tsu plays Linda. Irene was born in 1945 and is still with us today. Although the poster says, "and introducing Irene Tsu as Linda," she had been acting in film since 1961's Flower Drum Song. She had a long and very successful acting career, mostly in television. Robert Ito plays Tang. Robert was born in 1931 and, as far as I can tell, is still alive today at age 92. This was his first film, so the introducing part works for him. And though he had a long acting career as well, he is best known for playing Sam in the NBC TV mystery medical drama Quincy M.E. from 1976 to 1983. And then there's Paul Gilbert, who plays Lieutenant Red Braidley, the comic relief. Paul lived from 1918 to 1976 and had a very short acting career. It started in 1954 in a TV show called The Duke that only lasted for 13 episodes. This was near the end of his movie acting career. Now, my apologies to all the other actors, like these two beautiful ladies here. I just don't have time to go through every one of them. So what is Women of the Prehistoric Planet? We begin with a lone spaceship traveling through outer space. Inside, we meet the man in charge, Admiral David King. He makes an entry log that lets us, the audience, know what they are up to. The ship, Cosmos 1, has been in space for 6 months and 18 days. There are also Cosmos 2 and 3 that were sent 3 months apart. They are on their way home, but since they have been traveling near the speed of light, while it's only been 6 months for them, years have gone by on their home planet.
You know something, sir? We've been gone so long, my kid brother is now 30 years older than me. Is that crazy?
That's what happens when you travel at near optic speeds. It's a time paradox.
But their plans change when Cosmos 3 has a problem.
Distress signal from Cosmos 3.
You have your coordinates, Mr. Scott. Try to get another.
Now there are two races aboard the ship. The humans, represented by white European types, and Centurions, represented by Asian actors. And even though they've mastered interstellar space travel, they still have some very prejudiced ideas.
Oh, yes, I forgot. You don't consider Centaurians people, do you, Scott?
I don't think we should put so much trust in them, that's all. After all, they're hardly more than barbarians.
Back to the problem with Cosmos 3. There's a rebellion. The Centurions have taken over the ship. Cosmos 3 crashes on one of the planets in the Solaris system. A prehistoric planet, if you will. One of the crew of Cosmos 1, Linda, a Centurion, shows a particular concern over the fate of Cosmos 3.
I have friends aboard the Cosmos 3. I am afraid for them.
We all have friends on Cosmos 3. We're all deeply concerned.
Now, Cosmos 1 is ordered to return home, but Admiral King decides to go against orders and look for survivors.
Program a flight plan to take us to Solaris.
But, sir, the request has been denied by Command Headquarters.
I'm the commander of this fleet. All the passengers and crewmen on these ships are my responsibility as long as we are in deep space.
The problem is, because of the time dilation, the 3 months it'll take them to get to the planet will be years on the prehistoric planet. Now for the survivors, even though they're lucky to be alive and they're in a life or death situation, they just can't let go of their prejudiced views.
Don't touch me. I told you to stay away from me.
I only want to help you, Lieutenant. You need help.
If it weren't for you and your kind, none of us would need any help.
On their first night on the strange new world, they meet one of the other survivors, the Centurion who had caused the crash in the first place. And he's not happy. Finally, Cosmos 1 lands on the planet, 18 years after Cosmos 3 had crashed. Danger lurks around every corner like this huge lizard here, and one can only hope they didn't actually burn a lizard alive for the sake of making this film. Anyway, back to the ship. Young Linda takes off on her own without permission. A search party is sent to look for her. Admiral King seems to have a special interest in her, almost like he's, well, a father figure.
When anything happens to her, I'll never forgive myself.
I understand.
She's just like a mother. Independent, curious, filled with childlike dreams of another world.
What's Linda up to? Just taking a little bath in a small pond. A snake attacks, and like you might expect in a film of the time, she faints over a small snake. She's rescued, however, but by who? And then we get some thrilling shots of the rescue crew walking and walking, And then a little comic relief.
It looked like certain death for all of us. But then I thought of something. I reached back and I grabbed a handful of yours, and I threw it right in the beast's face and killed it.
Just a minute, Brad. You reached back and grabbed a handful of what?
Yours. A handful of yours. And I threw it right in the...
Okay, Bradley, tell me. What's yours?
I'll have a 3-day pass, sir, so Sugar and Ensign Stevens and I can find a quiet spot.
I know I shouldn't have asked.
And we'll go...
Let's move on, shall we?
Hey, aren't we all laughing? You don't direct an actor like Paul Gilbert. You just start the cameras rolling and let him do his thing. We meet Tang, the one who rescued Linda, and we find out the fate of the survivors of Cosmos 3. 2 of them are his parents.
Mr. Bradley, chief, look out!
Hey, he wasn't bothering anyone in the first place. You came into his home and you killed him. It was just a snake. We find out about some weird love triangle that has nothing to do with anything, and I ask myself, what is this doing in the film?
Zenda and Lieutenant Anderson were married just before we left Centaurus.
Married.
That's right. You see, Anderson loved her too, but he didn't hesitate to tell her so.
I don't believe it.
And then there's the electrifying crossing the river scene. This leads to the death of one of the most clumsiest crewmen in cinema history. Eventually they make it to the crashed ship. We get some more information about the fate of the crew, and we meet a deadly spider.
Hey, Chief, what's wrong? What's wrong with him, Doc?
I don't know.
Quick, get back!
To make a long story short, Tang and Linda fall in love. And we find out there are savages on the planet who hate Tang. Back on the ship, we get this strange, almost creepy scene.
Hey, Sugar, how about the next dance?
Stop that. I'm not going to... Come on, stop it. You know I can't stand that.
And there's Tang's pet monkey. And then a little romantic swim. It all comes together when Tang, Linda, the savages, and the rescue crew meet. Tang gets mistaken for a savage and is shocked. Hey, Linda's trying to tell them something. But of course they don't listen. She's a woman, and what she has to say is not important, so they just sedate her. Because of the active volcano... Oh, you didn't know there was an active volcano? Hey, neither did I. Admiral King decides it's time to leave. But Linda isn't happy and hates everybody.
I hate you. I hate all of you.
She runs away. It's all chaos. During the stock footage of the volcano, we learn the shocking truth.
Don't you understand? She's my responsibility. She's all I have. Linda's my daughter.
I didn't see that coming. But once the eruption's over, we find Linda has survived, and who does she meet? It's Tang. And now the ship is leaving, so the couple will be 2 lovers in paradise. But we have one more shocking development.
From this day forward, third planet of Solaris will be known as the Blue Planet. We designated planet Earth.
Wait, King's the one who named the planet, and Linda and Tang don't know that, yet the planet is still called Earth? Something's not adding up here. This wasn't a good film, but I'm going to try to find a few good things to say about it. I thought the time dilation issue was way ahead of its time. I don't remember another movie using this. It wouldn't be used again till Planet of the Apes in 1968. It was, I don't think it's ever been used as a plot point before. And this was made when civil rights was a huge issue in the United States, and that might explain all the blatant social commentary about race relations. That's understandable, but I think in this film it's a bit heavy-handed. The film, without the MST commentary, is a snooze fest. They could have cut out 20 minutes of this film and they would have been fine, but anyway. About 4 minutes were cut from the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version, so if you've seen that, you're fine. Don't go back and watch the original movie. It's tough, and it's hard to find a decent print of it anywhere. I looked. But why don't we now look at some of the best jokes from Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Hey, look, it's Lady Remington.
Looks like tinfoil.
It's a steam iron.
They're here in the Solaris star system.
They're over by E minor, or C sharp.
Pigs in space!
Is he a boy of my
I'm
own
resetting
age?
the controls so they crash into the prehistoric planet.
Come on.
Marianne! Ginger! Thurston! Lovey!
But Sally, we were friends
Hi,
only
I'm
a few
Johnny
hours
Long
ago.
Torso. Can I be of any help here?
You give them barren, wind-swept oceans of sand.
Shut up!
Say, Doc.
It's an insert shot of an iguana.
Their technology must be light years ahead of ours. Their use of stock footage is amazing.
Galloping through the galactics.
Shut up!
We had to the planet Gage.
Now, where did we park?
Jim's constipated. Oh my god, how horrible to be killed by a plush toy.
And so Johnny Long Torso and his industrial band of bad boy spacefaring pals step out into the cold air of Central Park.
Oh, yes, Tan.
Crazy woman, I offer her something to drink. She thinks it's my name all of a sudden.
Do you seriously believe any of them are still alive?
Maybe I do. I don't know what I think of that.
Well, then why haven't they used the radio? Possible.
Hey, did
Or
you
we
just get
haven't
back
seen
to the
any traces
dentist
of
or
them yet.
something? Go, Annette, go!
Linto, like Tang?
Well, yeah, but I also like other beverages like High C.
He's like a father. The only one I've ever known.
Lolita? Uh-oh, stock footage and lots of it coming at us.
Come on, I've really changed the place. The monkey moved in. I hope that doesn't bother you.
Make an entry in the ship's log.
Moses dog.
One is retiring.
So next week, we'll move into Season 2. We'll meet TV's Frank and hear a new voice for Tom Servo. It's a 1950 movie called Rocket Ship XM starring Lloyd Bridges and Osa Mason. It's a thriller with a bit of sexism. Won't you join us? And quickly, I have a Twitter account that you could join. And yes, I'm going to still call it Twitter because X is just plain stupid. Anyway, it's called Celluloid Days. I post all the time there. It's a great way where we could keep in contact and you could make suggestions and comments to me. Anyway, I just thought I'd put that out there. Celluloid Days. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll be back next week. Take care of yourself. It was great seeing you. You should come by more often.